Leah Reynolds. I'm the Executive Director for Kennett Area Community Service, home of the Kennett Food Cupboard.
My name is Amy Olexi, and I'm the owner of Tallulah's Table, which is located in downtown in the center of historic Kennett Square.
I'm Dawn Doherty-Cole. I'm the Executive Director for After the Bell at Kennett Middle School.
So my name is Angela Madariaga. I am a women's health and prenatal nurse with LCH Health Services.
Ann Vaughn is my name. I'm the owner of Taste Kennett Food Tours in Kennett Square. I started Taste Kennett Food Tours in 2014.
My name is Joey Fournier. I'm the class of 2021 at Kennett High School.
My name is Brenda Mercombs. I am president of Kennett Square Borough. It's a 2-year term, which will end at the end of this year. I'm also on the Kennett Library Board.
During 2020 and during the COVID virus, when that came to our area, we made numerous changes to really try to take care of the business. I'm a unique business person in that we kept our business open, and I kept my business open the entire time, so we did not go through a shutdown during COVID. What we did do was change our means of service, and we started to provide everything that we sell rather than for an eat-in experience, for a takeaway experience.
When I came back on Monday to work, that's when everything started changing. Everybody needed to mask, businesses starting to close. We needed to change our schedule at work in order to accommodate patients and stay safe and have our patients stay safe as well. So it was definitely chaotic at the beginning, but I guess it wasn't chaotic because we were disorganized. It was more so like nobody knew really the extent or the severity of it. All we really knew was from what we saw on the news. So even though I work in a healthcare center, I would say we were as scared, if not more scared, than the rest of the community because we work in a healthcare setting.
When the pandemic hit in March of 2020, we had to really rethink how we offered our programs to students because it's an after-school program. And when we realized in April that schools were not coming back, we had a strategy session with a couple board members and some really creative people.
We were trying to figure out a way, how could we pivot to still stay relevant, still help the restaurants, which is the ultimate goal of the food tours, is introducing local and people who are visiting the Brandywine Valley to our town and community and restaurants. And so in May, we launched a curated box of local food items from the different restaurants. And so I can't remember how many were in that first box. I want to say 8. And the first people that I spoke with were the people that were the restaurants on the food tour. And I bought everything retail price from them and then marketed it to the community so that the community could buy a box of food items from the restaurants and support them while they were closed.
Initially, I didn't think we'd have any school off, and then Henderson High School had school off, and then I believe it was Unionville High School had school off for 2 weeks. 2 weeks quickly extended from the middle of March to the end of March. It quickly extended until mid-April when spring break occurred. And it was thought that after spring break we would return to school. It soon became apparent that that was not the case, that we would be continuing online school due to COVID till the end of the year.
March 13th, when it became a national declared pandemic and there was a shutdown, I had to suspend all 75 volunteers and make many changes here so that we could keep people safe. We restricted people from coming into the building, and we worked really hard to take food and put it outside on tables safely. And families would come up to the outside of our window and let us know they needed food.
I think the hardest part initially was kind of wrapping our head around that kids weren't coming back to school and that we'd have to really rethink what we do and kind of turn what we do and redesign what we do. And luckily I have really good IT people, a fabulous web person, and a really good board of directors and volunteers who were able to help us collaborate and get these things done.
One of the real challenges that we faced was to make sure that we could make sure to be open and available and fully staffed and safely staffed. We learned that we were really an essential business. We always thought we were a kind of a wonderful amenity and bakery to our community. We learned that we were an absolute essential business that people couldn't do without us.
The biggest adjustment, I think it was during that period where we were changing things week to week. So do we wear regular masks? Do we wear N95? Do we have to gown up like when we're seeing each patient? Do we not? How do we keep our patients safe? How do we keep ourselves safe? So just like that constant change, especially at the beginning, that was definitely the hardest.
We lost 3 participants to COVID-19. They died from that. That was really hard on this crew of compassionate, big-hearted people who work so hard to help people. That was hard. Watching people suffer from the financial insecurity brought about by this pandemic and the shutdowns was very hard for all of us. We made some internal changes to increase our limit so that it was more realistic to today's cost of living for affordable housing, if you will.
So in May, we launched a curated box of local food items from the different restaurants. And so I can't remember how many were in that first box. I want to say 8. And the first people that I spoke with were the people that were the restaurants on the food tour. And I bought everything retail price from them and then marketed it to the community so that the community could buy a box of food items from the restaurants and support them while they were closed. And
Well, all of the work that we did from about March 14th or so on was not in person. It was on Zoom. And for many of us, it was a learning curve because we had really only heard of Zoom and we'd never done it. So there were always people who didn't know how to mute their phones, and it was kind of funny in a way. But they kept at it, and that was what the great part of it was.
As a senior, school was much more difficult as we were still held to a normal academic standard while still adjusting to that digital setting, and that was difficult.
We also did a lot of COVID guideline precautions for sanitation, which everyone's familiar with, but we immediately built tons of plexiglass and tons of sanitizing stations and things related to sanitation.
Now the issue here, especially with the population that we work with, mostly being Hispanic, hard workers in the community, it was hard for our patients because, when you tell a father that he has to quarantine for 14 days or 10 days, he changed now, who's gonna bring food to the table? So that was definitely another adjustment, not for us, but for our community members.
Everything that we do here relies on the generosity and support from the community that we sit within. So Southern Chester County has been so important to the work that we do here. We had a fire in October of 2019. It was devastating for us. We got rid of 2,500 pounds of donated food because it had smoke inhalation. This community showed up with 60,000 pounds of food over those weeks after the fire. They have done the same thing now for us. We've had 3 food drives in multiple locations because we couldn't accept the food here. We didn't have enough space. This community continues to support our mission. This community continues to help us meet people where they're at.
But I was really rather proud of the way that most people, everywhere you go, people had their mask on. I didn't ever have to say, why does that person have this mask on? Mm-hmm. Everybody that I ran into was completely masked, which I thought was great. And they may not have really wanted to, but it really made me feel quite good that people wanted to not only protect themselves, but protect the other residents of Kennett, and I was really very proud of that.
I don't think they could have done any better. You know, I think as a whole, the community rallied and we're creative. I think that's another big thing that came out of it is how creative so many of these businesses were in keeping their products in front of people and relying more on different avenues and social media and outside. And
I think the greatest sense of community came recently with the vaccines being available, especially when they started becoming available to our members. There was so much vaccine hesitation at the beginning, but now when people come, they're so grateful to receive the vaccine.
Yes, so support from the community, from other nonprofits, from other businesses. I mean, we can only do what we do because of the support from grants and giving of our community business partners, and the support this year has been better than ever.
I think that the community was able to rally together in the capacity that it should have. And so in short, I think, yes, I do think that Kennett, in a sense, became closer due to the COVID pandemic.
And one of the cool things about Kennett handling the pandemic that was awesome, that I really have, I participated in and I have great respect for, is we're a local community. We really showed that we can sustain off of our local businesses. So the community used the local parks, they used the local bakery like us, they used the local coffee shop, and they used the local stores, where people were employed as their essential services. I'm sure, of course, people were getting delivery and getting, Amazon, but I do think that, we were using our local amenities and our local farms, and I think that was really how the town kind of came together.
I really think, overall, I think Kennett squared it very well, actually. In reading news accounts and listening to the television reports, there were serious issues in other parts of the country.
With the CDC guidelines changing now, a lot of people might feel this sense of, and now we have vaccinations, a lot of people are vaccinated. A lot of people might feel like we're gonna go back to normal. I don't think we'll ever go back to normal. I think every time that we go to a store, we might still wanna grab our mask, or it might feel weird to see other people's faces for the first time. So I think it's something that has changed us. I don't think this is our new normal. I don't think we're ever gonna go back to pre-March 2020.
Kennett has never stopped being normal. It's always been a generous community where they try to lift each other up, whether it's a business, like we've had a great relationship with the businesses. Tallulah's helped us with our Empty Bowls fundraiser this year. From the social service agencies like LCH that are partners to us, we've always all been still working together. That first week of COVID, I had 4 executive directors from the other agencies in town, the Garage, the Kennett Senior Center, LCH. These folks were calling me and saying, what are you doing? Southern Chester County's United Way, CEO Carrie Freeman, has been in touch with me almost weekly. What can we do? What are the numbers? How can we help? And sometimes it's just the encouragement of each other. That's been awesome. The masks, the social distancing, the COVID, I have no idea. But I know I can trust in this community and the consistent generosity of spirit that they show one another and us. It's a very mutual thing.
After the Bell's definitely going to come back in the fall. We're super excited. I know things are getting better, and we're very excited about that.
I mean, I'm so eager to return to normal, and when I think our business might return to normal, in my mind, I do really target the school year of 2021. I imagine that in September of 2021, where people are returning to the routine that is dictated a lot in our community by the schools and the prevalence of families with children going to school, I believe that both men and women in the workforce would be able to kind of return to their daily routine, and students and kids can return to their routine, and college students. And I think that dictates a lot of the way business operates.
I think we're close. I think people are so eager to get out and do something and see people. And I think people have been pretty respectful of the restrictions and mandates, but it's thankfully everything's improving. And so I know even just last week, you walk into town and it's full of people and eating outside, and I think we're going to recover very quickly.
It's been every day that I come here, we get that gift, that unexpected gift of hope from this community. There's not one defining moment, and there can't be, and there'll never be one defining person or organization that deserves a special shout out, because the whole deserves acknowledgement. And that is the same experience that CACS has had, not only with this pandemic, but with the fire that we had here in the food cupboard in October of 2019. We had to dispose of 2,500 pounds of food that had smoke inhalation. This community showed up on Cedar Street, car after car, handing me bags of food and gift cards and saying, "We're sorry about the fire." Every day I was grateful, and I still am, to be here, to do this work in this community. Because it's possible to end extreme poverty when we all do it together like this. This is what it's called collective impact. When we're all on the same page together. We say it's the right thing to do to take care of my neighbor.